Okay, so here we go. Story 1. The Man on the Motorcycle. Transportation in the Philippines were made easier because there are motorcycle taxis here, and they are much cheaper compared to Uber/Grab cars. You just need to book a rider through an app, just like how you would book Uber in your country. I am used to take them whenever it is not raining, and it is a faster way to get to my workplace, but that is just the tip of the iceberg to my story. One particular night, I was craving for something to eat. It was around 1 o'clock a.m. It took me an hour or two of scrolling through my phone to look for food to satisfy my cravings when I decided to just go to 7-Eleven's, which is just a few blocks away from the village that I live in. I decided to just walk. The evening breeze was nice. I reached the highway, and I walked to the nearest pedestrian lane. The streets were a bit dim, when suddenly a man on the motorcycle stopped by me, and he was urging me to ride on his motorcycle. Motorcycle taxis here have uniforms, and I know that he is a phony. 7-Eleven's was still 2 blocks away. I politely brushed him off and said that I want to walk. He took off, and I felt a rush of relief. I enjoyed the rest of my walk. When I came to this block where only one street lamp was working, and the light from it was not a big help, my heart suddenly beat fast and I was sweating. Mind you, it was cold during that time. Something is stopping me from taking a step further. My legs felt heavy, but I did my best to walk because I was really hungry during that time. I don't have perfect vision. I can't see anything that is more than 4 feet away from me. When I was about to reach the corner where the only working street lamp is standing, it was the guy from earlier, and he was smoking something. I squinted my eyes, and he was smoking cigarettes. I walked faster until reached 7-Eleven's. I shopped for my food, and when I went to the cashier to pay for my stuff, there were 3 people ahead of me. He went behind me, and he was holding a roll of aluminum foil. I was shaking, and I was about to cry when suddenly my childhood friend, who is a police officer, came in, and he greeted me. I greeted him back. My friend offered me a ride because he just clocked out and told me to wait for him. He went to the drink section of the store, and the guy whispered in my ear, "Swerten miss, hindi kida ma rape nayan," which translates to, "You're lucky, miss, I can't RP you now." Story 2. My parents' bedroom was always locked. Now I wish I never opened that door. When I was young, I had an older brother who never spoke to me much. My parents' bedroom door was locked every day, and every night. Every time the moon wasn't in the sky, my mother got into it somehow. I checked around the whole house for the key, but there was nothing aside from the key to the front door. One night, I followed my mother to the room, and she took a key from the inside of her mouth and opened the door. Looking around, she swiftly locked it. I went to bed, now knowing where the key was. The next night, there was no moon, but I had managed to make a duplicate key thanks to YouTube B and some putty. I stood outside of her bedroom door and looked through the keyhole, and I could see movement. My mother put a gag in her mouth and placed her hands and feet into wrist locks. They held her in place just as I plowed past. She began to convulse violently, and a muffled scream came through her gag. The screaming stopped, and I saw another movement. The wrist locks opened, and she stood up. I opened the door, and she turned to me. Her jaw unhinged, exposing her teeth. Her arms and legs elongated to uncanny lengths, and she let out a piercing scream. It reached a hand towards me. I was rooted to the spot, but then I heard a voice. "Daniel, get out of the way." My brother sprinted past me. With a stun stick in hands, he switched it on and stabbed it into the creature that once was my mother. It let out another scream, this one full of pain, and it darted back on all fours, unhinged mouth letting blood fly from it like spittle. He stabbed it into her mouth, and she screamed again, running to the corner of the room. He slammed the door shut and locked it. "What the hell were you thinking?" he shouted at me. I burst into tears, probably from the combination of him yelling at me, my mother being a vicious monster, and the fact we were both covered in blood. He suddenly switched moods. He brought me downstairs and gave me a cookie. Now that she's seen your face, there's no telling when she will come again. He handed me a black box. I opened it and inside was a long black taser. Story 3. Neighbor issues. I have an elderly woman next door to me that apparently needs help, but the cops keep telling me she's harmless, and her family is trying to find a place for her to go. Our houses are less than 10 feet apart to one side, and she's nocturnal, it seems. Sometimes she knock on my bedroom window at night. That window looks out into one of her side windows, so I always keep the curtains drawn day or night. Scared the hell out of me the first couple times, and been a nuisance since. Weird thing is I know she lives alone. Family, I'm guessing, but I'm positive someone is over there with her at night. I'm hoping it's some kind of home health aide, but I catch snippets of the strangest noises. She has some obsession with crosses, as in Christian, and she left dozens of little wooden ones, I'm guessing are handmade, outside my window on the ground. The next day she said, "Leave those there and he'll never find you." She's got 'em all over her porch and backyard. Seriously creepy. Getting hard to relax at night. Thank God for Tylenol PM. LOL. Sadly, this is just a progression of what the cops, neighbors, and other think of as mental illness. Why do they get so religious when they go crazy? It's super unnerving. Who the hell is the person who will never find me? She said this to me a few times. It's either, "He'll never find you," or, "Did he look for you last night?" I've pressed her for meaning, but she just stops talking or wanders off. So sad to see her all alone, but any time I even think of going inside her house, I just get filled with dread. I may call council on aging.